Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Rough Cut with me, Kaveree Bamzai, your host. And as I always tell you, I watch all the movies, or at least try to watch all the movies so that you don't have to. And you get to watch only the ones that I recommend. This week we have Alpha, which is all about self-congratulatory feminism. So there has to be lots of action, lots of high-wire stuff, and lines in songs like I've shattered the ceiling, there's blood on the floor. Yes, I know, the kind that makes you roll your eyes, but not in a fun way. There are two ways to do action. One is dead serious, and I hate to mention the D word, but you know, the kind that is sort of based on actual events. And the other is to do it the way Pathan did, which is fun, self-aware, ironic, and lots of fun lines, which don't always land well, but at least you know the intent. It's almost cartoonish. Unfortunately, this Alpha takes the first route and does not have the writing to back it up, and ends up looking like two little girls playing with big guns in an all-boys play. And it just does not work. And this is not to say that the actors don't try hard, and you have some good actors. There's Alia Bhatt trying very hard to look serious. And when she does that, as in Jigra, she acquires a sort of deadpan expression, which doesn't necessarily lend itself to great acting or even to great expressions. There's Sharvari, who's had a great run of late. She was excellent and very cheerful and very charming in Main Vapas Aaunga. She is the same here, along with a whole lot of kicks and hijinks, etc. And there's Anil Kapoor as Raw Chief Vikrant Kaur, which is, I suppose, the only nod to reality. If you're a Kashmiri, you have to be a spy chief, according to Bollywood. And there's Bobby Deol, who's supposed to be a former soldier turned rogue, and then by the end there's a big surprise, which doesn't seem like a big surprise, frankly. But the problem, as I said, with this is, although it's written by Uday Chopra, so you'd expect a lot of laughs because, well, he's not the most serious of people. It isn't at all funny, except for a couple of lines like when Alia Bhatt reaches this Buddhist temple, and there's this monk G, by the way, who's making a mandala. She says, "Oh, have we come to meet the Dalai Lama?" Ha ha. That kind of humor. But even that is very, very scarce to be found. And it's the usual. There's Alpha, which is a serum which heightens the abilities of humans to an extent that they acquire superhuman abilities. Yes, where have we seen that before? And then there's the usual infiltration of the Indian army by certain elements from across the border. There are lots of action which sees people being blown up and houses being blown up and safe houses being blown up. But it just does not land. It's not to say that we've not seen action women in Indian cinema before. We just saw Kalyani Priyadarshan in Loka. We saw Samantha Ruth Prabhu in The Family Man. And we keep watching Priyanka Chopra Jonas in various avatars from Quantico to Citadel. But there has to be a certain amount of either self-awareness and a certain amount of inbuilt humor and irony when you're doing a sort of Marvel kind of takeoff like this, or you have to be dead serious, as Samantha was in The Family Man. But then that's a totally different kind of socio-political kind of series, as The Family Man was, which was based in Sri Lanka, and very serious issue of Tamil tigers. So what can I say? It's a total waste of lots of money, lots of action, lots of work. A young director, Shiv Raval, who did very well in The Railway Men, but just does not seem to have a grip on things here. It's a pity. It comes from Yashraj Studios, which is known to take its work very seriously, and we last saw it in Sayara, where it took an ordinary love story and packaged it so well that it became a phenomenon. So there's clearly something that's not quite right here, and it could be, not just the acting, but the writing as well. So really, I would recommend you stay home. And if you're not watching the World Cup or Wimbledon, there's a wonderful documentary which is based on these two tennis greats, Chris Evert and Martina Navratilova, on Netflix. It's called Chris and Martina, The Final Act, and it's just fantastic. It talks about these two great rivals throughout their lives in tennis who played each other 80 times, and Navratilova won, I think she won 43 times, and Evert won 37 times, and they had this magnificent rivalry where they brought out the best in each other, and they made the sport greater. For people who can only reference Rafa and Roger Federer, let me tell you, this was something much, much better in the late 70s and 80s. And you had this sort of magnificent contrast between the two. One was the American sweetheart, blonde, beautiful. She used to wear these lovely little dresses with those fluffy bloomers. And the other, Navratilova, was a Czech dissident, former communist, gay to boot, and couldn't even talk about it because being gay in anywhere in late 70s and 80s was considered a taboo. And you had Evert, who was a magnet for advertising, and nobody wanted to put their money on Navratilova. But a fantastic rivalry. And you see them at the end of their careers, not the best of friends, but they become then friends again when they both suffer from cancer, and that brings them closer together. And when they're sitting on the couch watching each other play with the little dog in between, that's Navratilova's constant companion, you realize how sport can be both elevating and educative and informative and inspirational. And it's just the kind of action, the feminist action, the kind of action heroes, the kind of action heroines that we really want to see, the real alpha women. So thank you for watching. See you next week.